What are your thoughts on law passed in California where physicians give misinformation, disinformation about survey sickness? It's 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 Orwellian. It's 1984 in real life, and it's only going to get worse, unfortunately. Definitely going to get worse in California. Hopefully, there'll be a lot of states that push back. It's one of the great things about the United States is to a certain degree they can compete with one another and people can vote with their feet. So if you don't like what's going on in California, you can move to Florida. I mean, Ron DeSantis is basically doing the opposite of this. I was just listening to the Brett Weinstein podcast, Dark Horse, and I guess Ron DeSantis had Brett and a few other people, that the guys that wrote the Barrington Declaration, come down there to try to discuss like pervasive sickness policy and where we got it wrong, and how we could improve it in the future if we have to. And he's so Florida is basically the antithesis of California. They're polar opposites. So that's great news. And geez, if you can hear these people yelling. So what holidays in Colombia, they take their holidays very seriously. They celebrate Christmas for like the entire month of December. It's not just one day. So every single night they're lighting off fireworks and they're dancing salsa and every, it doesn't matter what night it is. Any day of the week that ends in Y. But anyway, back to your question. I think hopefully you guys can't hear that. But back to your question, I think it just gets worse in California, and it's going to become very bifurcated, just like the entire world within the United States, where you've got these politicians that are in bed with the World Economic Forum and the global elite. At least they have the identical worldview. And they're going to push this censorship. They're going to want to censor more and more and more and more and more. And I think what Elon Musk is trying to do with Twitter, who knows what his real intentions are, but I think what at the surface level there, this could be a great pushback. And this is why it's so important. This is why free market capitalism is so important. A lot of people back a year or so, for the last few years have said, oh, you need the government to come in and micromanage Twitter and these social media platforms. And I was always very hesitant to go there. I get it. They're a public, the public square. I get it. They're really not private entities. They're really kind of micromanaged by the government. But I don't know that basically what you're saying, that argument is we need laws to make sure that they're not censoring people like Twitter. But effectively, what you're doing there is you're saying we've got a problem with big government and we're going to solve it with bigger government. And I was always very hesitant, like, I don't know, that's the right solution. And I always thought that, hey, if these social media platforms are getting bad, that's great. That's fantastic. In fact, the worse they get, the better it is, because that means it's more likely for people to want to explore some alternative. And recently, I think we've seen this. We've seen the locals really boom. Rumble, I think, is doing well. Russell Brand is really trying to promote his Rumble page. I'm over there, Shift's over there. A lot of people in the space. And I think a lot of the viewers have kind of made that, or starting to make that transition as well. And then you've got the free market working with Elon Musk coming in and say, hey, I'll just buy the whole thing. I don't like it. I'm going to buy it. And I'm going to go ahead and try to change the direction. This is how the free market works. So that's why I hesitate to say the solution for our problems is just bigger government. Even if it's bigger government doing something that we might approve of, I really hesitate with that. Hopefully I've made that point clear. So I think that we're going to see states continue to compete. It's going to get worse in California. It's going to get worse at a federal level. And I think it's going to get worse at a global level because these, the Klaus Schwab types, they understand the importance of controlling a narrative. You don't think that he's studied Goebbels in 1930 in Germany? Of course he has. Of course. I mean, the guy was born in 1938 in Germany, for heaven's sakes. So I think he's got a pretty good idea of how that worked as far as the use of propaganda and why it's so important to control that message. And I think they're going to continue to try to push that through censorship and trying to claim that, this misinformation and disinformation is dangerous, and therefore it needs to be banned because grown adults can't make their own decisions. We need to protect grown adults from certain words or certain opinions or ideas. It's utter nonsense. But I think we should be optimistic because of what we're seeing with the free market working, with Rumble, with locals, with Musk, with Ron DeSantis in Florida. And I understand what the global elite want, but that doesn't mean that they're going to get it. And I see people really pushing back against this, which I think is fantastic. So I'm not optimistic on the direction they're going to try to go with this as far as the global elite, but I am optimistic that people will push back because I think we're seeing it play out right in front of our own eyes, even at a state level, considering what Florida is doing.